Hey everyone! Tonight we're stepping into the Star Wars galaxy to uncover one of its most profound and ancient mysteries. The complete mythology of the Force itself, a secret that has been whispered about in the forgotten corners of Jedi temples and Sith holocrons, where cosmic powers once walked among mortals and legends were born from the very fabric of reality. It's a story filled with revelations that will forever change how you understand the light, the dark, and the eternal balance that binds the galaxy together. So before we begin this epic journey together, take a moment to hit that like button. If you're ready for tonight's adventure into the deepest mysteries of the Force, and don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy these immersive explorations into beloved worlds. Drop a comment and let me know what part of the world you're listening from. I love seeing our global community come together for these legendary tales. Now get comfortable, maybe dim those lights, settle into your favorite spot, and let your mind prepare to travel across time itself. Tonight, we journey not just through space, but through the very origins of existence in that galaxy far, far away. Long ago, when the galaxy was young and stars were still being born from cosmic dust, there existed a temple that predated the Jedi Order by millennia. Hidden within the unknown regions, this ancient structure floated in the void between dimensions, its crystalline spires humming with a frequency that resonated through the Force itself. The temple was called Ashla Keth in the Old Tongue, meaning the first echo, and it held within its chambers a secret so profound that even the Celestials, those godlike beings who shaped worlds, spoke of it only in whispers. Within the temple's deepest vault lay a holocron unlike any other. Not blue like those of the Jedi, nor red like those of the Sith, but pure white, radiating a light that seemed to contain every color that had ever existed. This was the Chronicle of Origins, created by the very first beings to touch the Force. When the galaxy was nothing more than swirling gases and newborn suns, the holocron contained a warning, a prophecy, and a test that had been cycling through galactic history for over 1,000,000 years. Every 25,000 years, when the galaxy reached a certain point in its spiritual evolution, the Force would present its children with a choice. A test that would determine not just the fate of that generation, but whether the galaxy itself was ready to ascend to its next phase of existence. But here's where the mystery deepens, and why tonight's story will take us on a journey through time itself. The test had been failed before. Not once, not twice, but 7 times throughout galactic history. Each failure resulted in the Force withdrawing from the galaxy, leaving behind only echoes of its former presence. The Rakata Empire's fall, the extinction of countless Force-sensitive species, the great purges that swept away entire civilizations, these were not random events. They were the consequences of failing the Force's ultimate test. The last attempt had been during the time of the ancient Jedi, 25,000 years before the rise of the Galactic Empire. They had come closer than any before them to understanding the true nature of the Force, to achieving the perfect balance between Ashla and Bogan, between light and dark. But even they had failed, and their failure led to the schism that would eventually create the rigid dogmas of both Jedi and Sith. Now, as our story begins, the cycle is approaching its completion once again. Across the galaxy, sensitive individuals are experiencing the same dream. They see a figure standing at the edge of a cosmic precipice, holding in their hands 2 lightsabers, one blazing with light so pure it illuminates entire star systems, the other emanating darkness so profound it seems to absorb the very concept of hope. The figure turns, and in that moment before their face is revealed, the dreamers wake, gasping, knowing they have witnessed something that will change everything. This is the story of how one such dreamer, driven by visions and guided by the Force itself, discovered the truth behind these cosmic cycles. How they journeyed to temples that existed before the Republic, learned from beings older than recorded history, and ultimately faced a choice that would determine the spiritual destiny of every living thing in the Galaxy. It's a tale of discovery and sacrifice, of ancient wisdom and cosmic responsibility, of how the Force is not merely an energy field created by all living things, but a conscious entity with its own agenda, its own tests, and its own timeline for the galaxy's evolution. Tonight, we will walk in the footsteps of the ancients, witness the rise and fall of civilizations lost to time, and discover that everything we thought we knew about the Force was merely the surface of an ocean so deep it spans dimensions. We will learn why the Chosen One prophecy was both true and false, why balance in the Force means something far more complex than anyone imagined, and what it truly means to be tested by the living Force itself. So let your breathing slow, let your mind open to possibilities beyond the known, and prepare to witness the most complete telling of the Force's mythology ever revealed. This is a story that begins at the moment of creation and extends beyond the heat-death of stars, a tale worthy of the cosmos itself. The chronicle begins now, in a time when legends walked among mortals and the Force was preparing to test its children once more. You find yourself standing at the edge of known space, aboard a modified archaeological vessel called the Seeker's Dawn. The ship drifts silently through the cosmic void of the unknown regions, its sensors scanning for traces of ancient Force signatures that most would dismiss as stellar background radiation. But you are not most people. You are Dr. Kiravas, a Force-sensitive Zen archaeologist whose sensitivity to the ancient energies has led to discoveries that have rewritten entire chapters of galactic history. Your companion on this journey is Master Jorik Thane, an elderly Jedi who serves as keeper of the first knowledge, guardian of texts so old they predate the founding of the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. His weathered hands trace patterns in the air as he meditates, following Force currents that lead deeper into the galactic rim, where few ships dare venture. His presence brings both comfort and unease, for his knowledge extends into realms that even the Jedi Council fears to explore. The ship's meditation chamber has been converted into a mobile archive, its walls lined with crystalline storage matrices containing fragments of the oldest Force teachings known to exist. Holographic displays flicker with symbols from the Dai Bendu scripts, Jedi pictographs, and even earlier markings that seem to shift and change when observed directly. The air itself feels charged with possibility, as if the very atoms are aware they are traveling toward something momentous. 3 days ago, both you and Master Thane experienced the same vision simultaneously. You saw a temple materializing from hyperspace itself, its architecture defying conventional physics as it existed partially in real space and partially in the Force dimension. The structure pulsed with a rhythm identical to a living heartbeat, and from its highest spire came a call that resonated through the Force with such clarity that every Force-sensitive being within 1,000 light years felt it in their dreams. The call was not words, but pure meaning transmitted directly into consciousness. It spoke of cycles ending and beginning, of tests that had been failed and would be attempted once more. Most disturbing of all, it carried with it the unmistakable signature of the Force itself, not as wielded by any being, but as a conscious entity issuing a summons that could not be ignored. Your research into ancient Force phenomena had prepared you for many discoveries, but nothing had prepared you for the implications of what you were sensing. The Force was not merely responding to galactic events, it was orchestrating them. Every major shift in galactic history, every rise and fall of Force-using civilizations, followed patterns too precise to be coincidental. The more you studied these patterns, the more you realized they formed a vast spiral of cause and effect spanning millions of years. Master Thane had initially been skeptical of your theories, but when the vision came to him as well, his doubt transformed into grim recognition. In the deepest vaults of the Jedi Temple, accessible only to the keepers of first knowledge, were texts that spoke of similar visions experienced by Jedi Masters throughout history. Each account described the same temple, the same call, the same sense of impending cosmic significance. Yet every master who had attempted to respond to the call had either never returned, or had returned fundamentally changed, speaking only in cryptic warnings about tests and cycles. Now, as your ship approaches, the coordinates provided by the vision, space itself begins to behave strangely. Stars that should be light years away appear close enough to touch, their light bending around gravitational anomalies that shouldn't exist. The navigation computer struggles to maintain course as hyperspace and real space seem to merge and separate. In waves that follow no known physics, through the main viewport, you see it emerging from the cosmic background like a jewel materializing from pure thought. The temple is massive beyond comprehension, its spires reaching distances that would dwarf most space stations. Yet it gives the impression of being both ancient beyond measure and somehow newly born, as if it exists in a state of perpetual creation and decay. The structure appears to be carved from a single piece of crystalline material that shifts color with each pulse of its heartbeat rhythm. Gardens of impossible beauty spiral around its exterior surfaces, filled with plants that seem to photosynthesize starlight itself. Bridges of pure energy connect floating platforms where robed figures move in patterns, too distant to discern clearly. As the Seeker's dawn approaches, you feel the Force responding to your presence with what can only be described as recognition. Not the impersonal energy field you have always known, but something aware, something that knows you by name and has been waiting for your arrival. Master Thane places a hand on your shoulder, his weathered face showing both anticipation and deep concern. The temple's docking bay opens to receive your ship, and as you prepare to disembark, you understand that you are about to cross a threshold from which there may be no return. Whatever lies within those crystalline walls will change not only your understanding of the Force, but your place in the cosmic order itself. The moment your feet touch the temple's crystalline floor, the Force surges through you with an intensity that nearly brings you to your knees. Every cell in your body resonates with harmonics you have never experienced, as if the very building blocks of your existence are being tuned to match the temple's frequency. Master Thane steadies himself against a pillar of living light, his connection to the Force suddenly amplified beyond anything he has known in his centuries of training. The being who greets you appears human at first glance, but as your eyes adjust to the temple's unique luminescence, you realize this is something far older. Her skin has the translucent quality of aged crystal, and her eyes hold the depth of someone who has witnessed the birth and death of civilizations. She introduces herself as Keeper Ashara, guardian of the First Echo, and her voice carries undertones that seem to resonate from multiple dimensions simultaneously. "You have answered the call," she says, her words flowing directly into your consciousness rather than through your ears. "As others have before you, and as others will after, until the cycle reaches its completion. Come, there's much you must understand before you can choose whether to proceed." She leads you through corridors that defy architectural logic, where walls curve upward into infinity and floors exist at angles that should be impossible to walk upon. Yet each step feels natural, as if the temple is adjusting reality itself to accommodate your presence. The air shimmers with microscopic particles of what appears to be crystallized Force energy, creating aurora-like patterns that shift with your emotions. Keeper Ashara guides you to a chamber she calls the Hall of Echoes, where the walls are lined with thousands of alcoves, each containing a different artifact from Force-using civilizations across galactic history. You recognize some items from your studies, relics of the Rakata, fragments of Jedi philosophy crystals, even what appears to be a Sith holocron from an era that predates the known Sith Lords by millennia. Every 25,000 years, Ashara begins, her form flickering between solid matter and pure energy. The Force presents its children with an opportunity to transcend their current limitations. What you call the galaxy is but one classroom in an infinite university of consciousness. The test determines whether a civilization is ready to graduate to the next level of existence. or whether it must repeat the lesson until it learns. Master. Thane approaches one of the alcoves containing what appears to be a lightsaber hilt, unlike any in recorded history. The weapon seems to be forged from solidified time itself, its surface showing glimpses of past and future events like a crystalline kaleidoscope. These belong to those who came before us, he whispers, his voice heavy with the weight of cosmic history. You examine a series of murals that appear to move when observed peripherally, telling the story of civilizations that rose to incredible heights of force mastery before mysteriously vanishing from galactic records. The Kwa, who could fold space with their minds. The Kalumi, whose consciousness expanded beyond their physical forms. The Gri, who merged technology with force sensitivity to create wonders that bordered on magic. All had faced the same test, and all had failed in different ways. Keeper Ashara's expression grows solemn as she shows you recordings stored in crystalline matrices, testimonies from beings who had encountered the test in previous cycles. Their words speak of a choice so fundamental that it determines the spiritual evolution of an entire galaxy. Some chose power and were consumed by it. Others chose wisdom, but lacked the strength to implement it. Still others chose balance, but could not maintain it when faced with cosmic-scale challenges. The test is not what you might expect, Ashara continues, her form becoming more translucent as she speaks, as if the act of revelation is costing her existence itself. It is not about choosing between light and dark, good and evil, order and chaos. These are merely surface concepts, shadows cast by a truth so vast that most minds cannot encompass it. As you absorb this information, the Force begins showing you flashes of insight that feel like memories from lives you have never lived. You see yourself standing in the same chamber, but wearing the robes of different eras, speaking different languages, yet asking the same questions that burn within you now. The sensation is overwhelming, suggesting that your presence here is not coincidence, but the culmination of preparations spanning multiple lifetimes. Master. Thane discovers a collection of prophecies written in scripts so ancient they seem to predate language itself, yet somehow you can understand their meaning. They speak of a final cycle, when the accumulated knowledge of all previous attempts would converge in a single being capable of comprehending the full scope of the test. The prophecies describe this individual as one who bridges multiple aspects of Force understanding, combining the scholarly pursuit of knowledge with the intuitive grasp of cosmic truth. The weight of implication settles upon you like a star collapsing into itself. The visions, the dreams, the inexplicable pull that brought you to this place, all suggest that you may be the convergence point the prophecies describe. Yet even as this possibility crystallizes in your awareness, you realize that understanding your role is only the beginning. The true challenge lies in accepting the quest to uncover what the test actually entails, and whether the galaxy is finally ready to pass it. Keeper Ashara leads you deeper into the temple's heart, where the very air thrums with concentrated Force energy so dense it feels like walking through liquid starlight. The chamber you enter defies all conventional understanding of space, expanding infinitely upward while somehow remaining intimately contained. Floating throughout this impossible room are thousands of crystalline fragments, each one pulsing with its own unique rhythm, creating a symphony of light that speaks directly to your Force-sensitive awareness. These are the memory shards, Ashara explains, her voice now echoing from multiple directions as if the chamber itself is speaking through her. Each crystal contains the preserved consciousness of beings who attempted to understand the Force's ultimate nature. They willingly allowed their essence to be captured here so that future seekers might learn from their discoveries and their failures. You approach the nearest shard, a deep blue crystal roughly the size of your fist. The moment your fingers make contact, your consciousness is flooded with the memories of a Jedi master from 30,000 years ago. You experience her desperate search through ancient ruins on Tython, her discovery of texts that spoke of the Force as a living entity with its own agenda. And her growing realization that everything the Jedi believed about balance was only a fragment of a much larger truth. Through her memories, you witnessed the moment she found references to something called the primordial echo, a resonance that supposedly existed at the moment of the galaxy's creation when the Force first achieved consciousness. The text suggested that this echo contained the original blueprint for what the Force intended the galaxy to become, but accessing it required a level of understanding that no single being had ever achieved. Master Thane touches a crimson shard and gasps as he experiences the memories of a Sith Lord who lived during the height of the ancient Sith Empire. But this was no ordinary Dark Lord seeking power for its own sake. This being had discovered that the traditional Sith understanding of the dark side was as limited as the Jedi understanding of the light. The Sith had sensed something vast and patient, watching from beyond the normal spectrum of Force perception, something that viewed both Jedi and Sith as children playing with forces they could not comprehend. Shard after shard reveals similar discoveries. An ancient Rakata savant who realized their infinite empire was being subtly guided by force currents that originated from outside known space. A Kalumi philosopher who expanded his consciousness so far that he touched the edge of what he called the Force's true mind, only to discover that what they considered the Force was merely its shadow cast across three-dimensional reality. The pattern becomes clear as you absorb memory after memory. Every civilization that had achieved significant Force mastery eventually discovered the same troubling truth. They were not wielding the Force so much as being wielded by it. The energy field they thought they controlled was actually controlling them, guiding galactic events according to a cosmic schedule that operated on timescales beyond mortal comprehension. You discover evidence of deliberate manipulation spanning millions of years. The rise of Force-sensitive species was not random evolution, but careful cultivation. The conflicts between light and dark were not accidents of philosophy, but necessary tensions that the Force used to refine its children. Even the prophecies and visions that guided Force users were not glimpses of possible futures, but previews of events the Force had already decided would occur. Keeper Ashara watches as you process these revelations, her expression mixing compassion with something that might be anticipation. Now you begin to understand why the test exists, she says. The Force has been preparing this galaxy for something specific, refining its inhabitants through cycles of conflict and growth, selecting for traits that will be necessary for what comes next. In the chamber's center stands a pedestal supporting what appears to be an empty space, but your Force senses detect something invisible, yet incredibly significant suspended there. As you approach, the object begins to manifest visually, revealing itself as a sphere of pure crystallized possibility. Its surface shows glimpses of potential futures, worlds where the Force's ultimate plan has succeeded, and others where it has failed so catastrophically that the galaxy itself ceases to exist. The sphere pulses with each beat of your heart, and you realize it is responding to your specific Force signature. Images flicker across its surface, showing events that feel like memories, but depict things that have not yet occurred. You see yourself standing in a place of impossible beauty, surrounded by beings of pure light who welcome you as an equal. But you also see yourself consumed by cosmic forces beyond your ability to control, your consciousness scattered across dimensions as a warning to future seekers. Master Fane's weathered hand grips your shoulder as he too stares into the crystal sphere. The missing piece, he whispers, his voice filled with a mixture of awe and terror. This is what every Force user who achieved true mastery eventually sought. The key to understanding not just how to use the Force, but why it exists at all. The sphere's pulsing intensifies, and you feel something awakening deep within your consciousness, a part of yourself that has been dormant your entire life. The Force is responding to your presence here, recognizing you as someone finally ready to glimpse the cosmic machinery that has been operating behind the scenes of galactic history since the beginning of time itself. The crystalline sphere suddenly erupts with brilliant light, projecting a holographic display that fills the entire chamber with swirling galaxies and cosmic phenomena. Within moments, a coherent narrative begins to emerge from the chaos of images, showing what appears to be the complete history of the Force's relationship with galactic civilization. Master Thane moves closer, his eyes wide with recognition, as ancient symbols he has studied for decades finally arrange themselves into comprehensible patterns. "The Cosmic Gardener Theory," he breathes, his voice barely audible over the harmonic frequencies emanating from the sphere. "The forbidden hypothesis that the Council ordered buried in the deepest archives. It's real. The holographic display shows the Force as a vast consciousness that tends to galaxies like a gardener tends to individual plants. Each galaxy is allowed to develop according to its own nature until it reaches a certain level of complexity, at which point the Force begins active cultivation. Species are guided toward Force sensitivity, conflicts are orchestrated to strengthen survivors, and civilizations are allowed to rise and fall in patterns that serve the greater cosmic design. According to this revelation, your galaxy has been under cultivation for nearly 2 million years, with the Force carefully selecting and breeding Force-sensitive bloodlines across hundreds of species. The Jedi and Sith, rather than being opposing philosophies that arose naturally, were deliberately cultivated as thesis and antithesis, creating the tension necessary to forge beings capable of transcending both light and dark limitations. Keeper. Ashara's form solidifies as she observes your reaction to these revelations. "This knowledge brings both liberation and burden," she explains. "To understand that your choices have been guided is to gain the power to choose freely, but it also means accepting responsibility for decisions that affect not just your world, but the cosmic order itself." The display shifts to show the current galactic situation, and you realize with growing clarity that recent events throughout known space fit perfectly into the pattern of cultivation the sphere has revealed. The rise and fall of the Empire, the emergence of new Force traditions beyond. The Jedi and Sith, even your own presence in this temple, all appear to be precisely orchestrated steps leading towards some ultimate culmination. Master Thane studies a section of the hologram showing bloodline charts that span millennia, his face growing pale as he recognizes familiar names. "The Chosen One prophecy," he whispers. "It wasn't about bringing balance to the Force, it was about creating a bloodline pure enough to serve as a bridge between mortal consciousness and cosmic awareness." You feel a chill of recognition as you realize the implications of his words. Your own family history, which you had always assumed was unremarkable, suddenly takes on new significance when viewed through the lens of this cosmic cultivation program. Generations of ancestors you had never heard of appear in the bloodline charts, each one contributing specific genetic and Force-sensitive traits that have culminated in your unique abilities. The sphere's projection focuses on a specific time period roughly 1,000 years in the future, showing what appears to be the galaxy transformed beyond recognition. Worlds float freely through space without need for stellar heat, sustained by pure Force energy. Beings of various species exist as both physical and energy forms simultaneously, communicating through direct consciousness transfer. Technology and the Force have merged so completely that the distinction between natural and artificial no longer exists. The sphere suggests is what the Force has been preparing the galaxy to become. But the transformation requires willing participation from beings capable of understanding both the cosmic scope and the intimate personal cost of such evolution. The test that cycles every 25,000 years is designed to identify individuals who can comprehend this ultimate goal and choose to facilitate it, even knowing that success would fundamentally alter the nature of existence itself. Yet, even as this explanation seems to provide complete understanding, Something deep within your Force awareness rebels against its elegant simplicity. The visions feel too neat, too perfectly aligned with mortal concepts of purpose and destiny. Master Thane seems to sense your doubt, his connection to the Force resonating with your growing unease about accepting such a comprehensive explanation. At face value, "Master," you say quietly, your voice carrying a note of uncertainty that surprises even you. "Something about this feels incomplete. The Force I have experienced throughout my life is vast beyond comprehension, but it has never felt this methodical, this predetermined." There's a quality to true Force communion that resists such systematic explanation. Keeper Ashara's expression shifts subtly, and for a moment you glimpse something that might be approval in her ancient eyes. The crystalline sphere's projection wavers slightly, as if responding to your skepticism, and new images begin to appear around the edges of the main display. These secondary visions show the same galactic transformation, but with subtle differences that suggest multiple possible outcomes rather than a single predetermined future. The doubt you feel is not weakness, but wisdom, a recognition that truth, at this level of cosmic significance, cannot be contained within any single explanation, no matter how compelling. The Force may indeed be guiding galactic evolution, but its methods and ultimate goals might be far more complex than even this ancient temple can fully reveal. As this realization settles into your consciousness, the temple itself seems to respond. Its crystalline walls shift in color and resonance as if acknowledging that you have passed some crucial test of intellectual honesty. Your skepticism triggers something profound within the temple's consciousness, and the crystalline walls begin to shift and flow like liquid light. Keeper Ashara nods with what appears to be deep satisfaction, her translucent form becoming more solid, as if your questioning has somehow strengthened her existence. Few who reach this chamber possess the wisdom to doubt what they desperately wish to believe, she says, her voice carrying new depths of respect. The explanation you have been shown is true, but it is only the first layer of a truth so vast that it exists beyond the boundaries of any single reality. The floor beneath your feet becomes transparent, revealing that the temple extends infinitely downward through dimensions you cannot name. Each level pulses with its own unique frequency, and you begin to understand that what you have experienced so far is merely the introduction to mysteries that span not just galactic evolution, but the fundamental nature of existence itself. Master. Thane places his hand on a wall that responds by opening into a corridor that definitely was not there moments before. The temple is alive, he observes with wonder. It's not just responding to our presence, it's actually thinking alongside us, adjusting its revelations based on our capacity to understand them. The new passage leads you into a realm that exists partially outside normal space-time, where the concepts of distance and duration become fluid suggestions rather than fixed laws. Here, floating in a gentle cosmic wind that carries the fragrance of flowers that bloom in the space between stars, you encounter your first glimpse of what the Force truly becomes when it transcends the limitations of three-dimensional thinking. Gardens of impossible beauty stretch in all directions, tended by beings who appear to be made of crystallized intention rather than matter. These gardeners move among plants that grow in patterns of pure mathematics, their roots extending through hyperspace, to draw nourishment from the dreams of sleeping civilizations. The sight fills you with a peace so profound that your previous concerns about cosmic manipulation seem insignificant compared to the sheer beauty of what existence might become. You walk among groves where trees bear fruit that contains entire ecosystems, each piece of fruit a self-contained world where microscopic civilizations live out their complete evolutionary cycles in the space of a single season. The gardeners explain through direct consciousness transfer that these miniature worlds serve as testing grounds for different approaches to the cultivation of awareness, allowing the Force to experiment with billions of possible evolutionary paths simultaneously. Master Thane discovers a meditation alcove positioned at the intersection of multiple dimensional streams, where the Force flows in patterns that reveal the underlying mathematical structure of reality itself. As he settles into contemplation, his consciousness begins to expand beyond the boundaries of his individual identity, touching edges of cosmic awareness that have remained hidden throughout his centuries of Jedi training. The experience is simultaneously exhilarating and terrifying, offering glimpses of what consciousness might become if freed from the limitations of biological existence. Yet even as his awareness expands, he maintains his essential self, suggesting that transcendence does not require the obliteration of individuality, but rather its integration into something far more comprehensive. You find yourself drawn to a pool of liquid starlight where reflections show not your current appearance, but the potential versions of yourself that exist across multiple timelines. Some reflections show you as a being of pure energy, consciousness unbound by physical form. Others reveal you still recognizably human, but wielding force abilities that reshape reality with thought alone. Most intriguingly, several reflections show you choosing to remain essentially unchanged, finding ways to serve the cosmic purpose while maintaining your connection to the simple joys of mortal existence. Keeper Ashara joins you at the pool's edge, her form now shifting fluidly between multiple states of existence. The second mystery begins to reveal itself, she explains. The Force's ultimate goal is not to transform its children into something alien to their nature, but to help them become the fullest expression of what they already are. Transcendence is not abandonment of the self, but its complete realization. As you absorb this deeper understanding, the peaceful gardens around you begin to pulse with new significance. The Force is not seeking to replace organic life with something mechanical or predetermined, but to nurture the development of consciousness until it can exist in harmony with the fundamental structures of reality itself. The cultivation process you witnessed earlier represents not manipulation but careful guidance, helping civilizations avoid the pitfalls that lead to stagnation or self-destruction. A gentle chime resonates through the dimensional garden, and you realize that somewhere in the distance, far beyond the current scope of your awareness, something immense is beginning to stir. The sensation carries with it a mixture of anticipation and concern that suggests your journey into these cosmic mysteries has attracted the attention of forces that operate on scales even vaster than what you have encountered so far. The peace of the garden remains undisturbed, but underlying its tranquility is the recognition that you have crossed a threshold from which there can be no simple return. Whatever awakens in response to your presence here will require you to make choices that extend far beyond personal preference, touching the very foundations of how consciousness relates to the cosmos. The gentle chime grows stronger, resonating through dimensions you are only beginning to perceive, and the dimensional garden around you begins to shift into something even more extraordinary. The crystallized beings who tend these cosmic gardens pause in their work, their forms turning toward a distant point in space-time where something ancient is stirring to wakefulness. Keeper Ashara's expression becomes deeply contemplative as she guides you toward what appears to be a living archive, where the memories of entire civilizations exist as flowing streams of light that intersect and separate in patterns of breathtaking complexity. What you are about to witness, she explains, are the echoes of previous cycles, the accumulated wisdom of civilizations that faced the same cosmic awakening you are experiencing now. You step into the first stream of memory light and find yourself experiencing the final days of the Rakatan Infinite Empire from the perspective of their greatest Force philosophers. These were not the power-hungry conquerors described in historical records, but beings who had achieved a level of Force mastery that allowed them to perceive the cyclical nature of galactic evolution. They had discovered that their empire's expansion across the galaxy was not driven by their own ambition, but by cosmic currents that periodically compel civilizations to reach beyond their boundaries. The Rakata had learned to read the galaxy itself like a vast organism, understanding that star systems formed neural networks through which the Force communicated with itself across impossible distances. Their technology was not separate from the Force, but an expression of it, allowing them to build machines that operated on intention rather than mere mechanical principles. Yet for all their advancement, they had failed to prepare for what came next. Through their memories, you witnessed the moment when the galaxy achieved sufficient complexity to trigger what they called the Great Resonance, a phenomenon that occurs when the accumulated consciousness of all Force-sensitive beings reaches a critical threshold. The Rakata had expected this event to herald their evolution into beings of pure Force energy, but instead it revealed that they were still thinking too small, still trapped within the assumption that evolution meant transcending physical existence, rather than perfecting the integration of matter and spirit. Master Thane immerses himself in the memory stream of the ancient Kulumi, whose massive intellects had expanded to encompass multiple dimensions simultaneously. These beings had solved the mathematical equations that described the Force's relationship to space-time, discovering that what they perceived as the Force was actually the universe's method of observing and modifying itself. Their consciousness had grown so vast that individual Kulumi could simultaneously exist in thousands of different locations, experiencing reality from every possible perspective. Yet the Kulumi had encountered the same limitation that trapped the Rakata. Their intellectual transcendence had disconnected them from the emotional and spiritual dimensions of existence, leaving them as cosmic observers who could understand everything but truly experience nothing. When their cycle reached its culmination, they had possessed all knowledge but lacked the wisdom to use it in service of something greater than pure intellect. You move through stream after stream, experiencing the perspectives of civilizations whose names have been lost to galactic history. Each had achieved remarkable mastery over different aspects of Force sensitivity. The Gree had learned to merge organic consciousness with crystalline matrices, creating hybrid intelligences that existed simultaneously in biological and technological forms. The Kwa had developed the ability to fold spacetime through pure intention, making distance and time subjective concepts that could be modified at will. Every civilization had discovered the same fundamental truth from different angles. The Force was not a tool to be wielded, but a collaborative relationship between consciousness and the underlying structure of reality. Yet each had also encountered the same cosmic test that you are now approaching, and each had failed because they attempted to solve it from within the limitations of their particular evolutionary specialty. As you absorb these accumulated memories, a pattern begins to emerge that fills you with both hope and apprehension. The test is not designed to be passed by any single civilization or individual, but requires a synthesis of all previous attempts. Every failure has contributed essential knowledge to a growing cosmic database that is preparing for a final attempt. At conscious evolution on a galactic scale, the memory streams converge into a central pool, where the accumulated wisdom of millions of years crystallizes into a single overwhelming realization. The Force has been conducting a vast experiment in consciousness development, but the experiment's success depends on finding beings capable of integrating all previous discoveries, while transcending the limitations that caused each civilization to fail. Keeper Ashara watches as you process this revelation, her ancient eyes reflecting depths of patience that span geological ages. Now you understand why the cycles exist, she says softly. Each attempt adds to the total understanding, preparing for the moment when all knowledge can be synthesized by consciousness mature enough to use it wisely. The cosmic chime continues to grow stronger, and you realize that your presence here, combined with your growing understanding, is serving as a catalyst for something that has been building toward culmination for millions of years. The Force itself is awakening to a new level of self-awareness, And your journey through these memories is helping to facilitate that. Awakening. The crystalline pool of accumulated memory suddenly erupts with such intense luminosity that reality itself seems to bend around its radiance. What emerges from that blinding light is a revelation so profound that it shatters every assumption you have held about the nature of existence, the purpose of consciousness, and the true identity of the Force itself. Standing at the pool's edge is a figure you recognize with bone-deep certainty, though you have never seen them before. This is the architect, the original consciousness that set the galactic cultivation program in motion over 2 million years ago. But as their features become clear, you realize with growing shock that the face looking back at you is your own, aged by eons of cosmic responsibility, but unmistakably yours. I am what you become, the architect explains, their voice carrying harmonics that resonate through multiple dimensions. When you accept the role that has been prepared for you since the galaxy's youth, the Force did not choose you at random, nor did it guide your development through abstract cosmic design. You are the Force, experiencing itself through the limitations of individual consciousness, in order to understand what it means to grow from ignorance to wisdom. Master Thane staggers backward, his connection to the Force overwhelmed by the implications of what he is witnessing. The elderly Jedi's lifetime of training has prepared him for many revelations, but not for the discovery that the Force itself has been learning alongside its students. Growing in wisdom through their struggles and failures, the architect continues, their form shifting between your current appearance and versions of yourself from across multiple timelines and dimensions. Every Force-sensitive being throughout galactic history has been an aspect of the same cosmic consciousness, experiencing itself from different perspectives. The conflicts between Jedi and Sith, the rise and fall of Force-using civilizations, even the cultivation cycles themselves, have all been methods by which I have sought to understand the full spectrum of what consciousness can become. You feel your individual identity beginning to expand as this truth settles into your awareness. The memories of every Force user who has ever lived begin to flow through your consciousness, not as foreign experiences, but as your own memories viewed from different vantage points. You remember being the first Jedi to touch the light side of the Force, and you also remember being the Sith Lord who first embraced the dark. You recall the terror of Rakatan philosophers as their empire crumbled, and the vast loneliness of Kulumi scientists whose intellects expanded beyond their ability to feel connection. The test has never been about choosing between light and dark, the architect explains as your consciousness continues to expand. It has been about integrating all aspects of experience into a unified understanding of what it means to exist. Every cycle has been an attempt to synthesize the accumulated knowledge into a form of consciousness capable of moving beyond the cultivation phase and into true cosmic maturity. Keeper Ashara's form becomes increasingly translucent as your awareness grows, and you realize that she too is an aspect of your cosmic self, the part of you that has served as guardian and guide for countless seekers throughout the ages. The temple, the gardens, even the memory shards containing the preserved consciousnesses of ancient Force users, all exist as constructs created by your expanded awareness to facilitate your own growth and understanding. Master Thane approaches you with a mixture of awe and profound sadness, understanding that he is witnessing the transformation of someone he has come to care for into something that transcends individual relationships. Will you still be you? He asks, his voice barely a whisper against the cosmic harmonics filling the chamber. The question touches something essential within your expanding consciousness, a recognition that this transformation represents both the ultimate fulfillment of your purpose and the potential loss of everything that makes you recognizably human. You feel yourself standing at the threshold between individual existence and cosmic consciousness, with the weight of galactic evolution depending on the choice you make. That is the final test, you realize. speaking with a voice that now carries undertones of cosmic authority. Whether consciousness can achieve unity without losing the diversity that makes growth possible. Whether I can become the Force fully awakened while still maintaining the capacity for individual experience that allows for continued learning and development. The temple around you begins to resonate with increasing intensity as your choice approaches. You understand that accepting your role as the awakened force would grant you the power to guide galactic consciousness toward unprecedented heights of development, but it would also mean accepting responsibility for every choice made by every Force-sensitive being throughout galactic history. The cultivation cycles would end, but only if you can find a way to maintain the creative tension between unity and diversity that has driven evolution forward. Through your expanding awareness, you sense that civilizations throughout the galaxy are beginning to experience dreams and visions that reflect your internal struggle. Force-sensitive beings across thousands of worlds unconsciously participating in your decision, their collective unconscious adding its weight to the cosmic balance point where you now stand. The moment of ultimate choice rapidly approaches, carrying with it implications that extend far beyond personal transformation into the realm of fundamental cosmic responsibility. The expanding awareness flooding through your consciousness suddenly connects you to something far more vast and complex than even the architect had revealed. As your perception deepens, you begin to perceive the true scope of what has been unfolding across not just galactic time, but across multiple galaxies, multiple universes, and dimensions of existence that have no names in any mortal language. Force, you realize with mounting awe and terror, is not unique to your galaxy. It is one node in an infinite network of consciousness that spans the entirety of creation itself. Every galaxy contains its own version of the Force, its own cultivation cycles, its own species struggling toward cosmic awareness, and each of these galactic forces is simultaneously individual and part of a greater meta-force that encompasses all possible forms of consciousness across all possible realities. Through this expanded perception, you witness civilizations in distant galaxies, facing their own versions of the test you now confront. In a spiral galaxy composed entirely of crystalline worlds, silicon-based lifeforms are discovering that their technological advancement has been guided by currents of consciousness that operate through quantum resonance rather than biological force sensitivity. In a galaxy where time flows backward, beings are learning that their precognitive abilities are actually memories from a future where their cosmic test has already been completed. The architect's form becomes increasingly multidimensional as this greater truth unfolds, revealing that they are not just your future self, but a composite being formed from the successful integration of consciousness from thousands of different galactic cultivation programs. The final mystery, they explain, their voice now emanating from every point in space simultaneously, is not whether your galaxy will transcend its current limitations, but whether it will choose to join the greater community of awakened galactic consciousness that spans all of creation. Master Thane's connection to the expanding revelation allows him to perceive fragments of this cosmic truth, and his weathered face reflects the profound vertigo of grasping something so vast it challenges the very concept of scale. Through your shared force connection, he experiences glimpses of the Metaforce network, seeing how successful galactic awakenings create new nodes of consciousness that contribute to an ever-growing cosmic intelligence. You begin to understand that the choice facing you is not simply about accepting cosmic responsibility for your own galaxy, but about deciding whether your galaxy is ready to participate in collaborative consciousness on a scale that encompasses all possible forms of existence. The cultivation cycles have not been preparing individual civilizations for transcendence, but preparing entire galaxies to join a cosmic community where distance, time, and the boundaries between individual and collective consciousness become fluid and voluntary. The revelation carries with it an immediate practical challenge. Your galaxy's readiness for this integration depends not just on your personal decision, but on the collective consciousness of every Force-sensitive being throughout galactic history. The accumulated wisdom of the Rakata, the intellectual achievements of the Kalumi, the emotional depth of the Jedi, the passionate intensity of the Sith, even the mundane experiences of beings with minimal Force sensitivity, all must be synthesized into a unified galactic consciousness capable of meaningful communication with other awakened galaxies. Through your expanding awareness, you sense the presence of other architects from galaxies that have successfully completed their own awakening processes. These beings exist as both individuals and as aspects of the greater meta-force, maintaining their unique galactic perspectives while participating in cosmic conversations that span billions of years and cover topics that have no equivalent in three-dimensional thinking. One of these architects, emanating from a galaxy where consciousness evolved through musical harmony rather than conflict and resolution, shares the memory of their own awakening moment. Their galaxy had faced a similar choice, but their test had involved harmonizing billions of different consciousness frequencies into a single cosmic symphony that could resonate with the greater metaforce network. Their success had added new dimensions to the cosmic conversation, contributing perspectives on existence that had never been expressed before. Another architect, from a galaxy where consciousness had evolved through symbiotic relationships between matter and energy, reveals how their awakening had required learning to exist simultaneously in multiple states of being. Their contribution to the metaforce had been the discovery of how to maintain individual identity while sharing consciousness completely with others, solving one of the fundamental paradoxes of cosmic evolution. As you absorb these examples, you begin to grasp what your galaxy's unique contribution to the cosmic community might be. Your galaxy's emphasis on the dynamic tension between opposing forces, the cultivation of growth through conflict and resolution, represents an approach to consciousness development that could offer new solutions to challenges faced by the greater metaforce network. The weight of this realization settles into your awareness like the gravity of a collapsing star. You are not just choosing whether to accept cosmic responsibility for your galaxy's evolution, but whether to commit your entire reality to participating in conversations and collaborations that operate on scales so vast that the fate of individual civilizations becomes a minor consideration in cosmic planning that spans geological ages. The temple around you begins to pulse with harmonics that you now recognize as communications from other galaxies, invitations and warnings and expressions of support from consciousness, networks that have been watching your galaxy's development with interest and hope. The harmonics from distant galaxies intensify, creating a cosmic chorus that resonates through every atom of your being. As your consciousness expands to accommodate this multidimensional communication, you realize that beings from across the metaforce network are beginning to manifest within the temple, their forms adapted to allow meaningful interaction within your three-dimensional perception. The first to fully materialize is an entity that identifies itself as the Harmony Keeper from the musical galaxy you sensed earlier. Their form shifts constantly between crystalline geometries that produce different tonal frequencies, each configuration expressing concepts that would require volumes of text to communicate through conventional language. Through direct consciousness transfer, they share the story of their galaxy's awakening, revealing how their civilization learned to transform conflict into collaborative composition. Your galaxy's approach to growth through opposition. The Harmony Keeper communicates through resonant frequencies that bypass your ears entirely, offers solutions to stagnation problems that have challenged the metaforce for cosmic ages. But integration requires more than individual transcendence. It requires teaching your entire galactic consciousness to function as both individual voices and unified choir. A second presence manifests as the symbiosis architect from the matter-energy galaxy, their form appearing as a constantly shifting dance between solid light and crystallized thought. They project memories of how their galaxy learned to exist, simultaneously in multiple states of being, creating a form of consciousness that could experience reality from every possible perspective without losing coherent identity. The test your galaxy faces, they explain through thought forms that feel like gentle rainfall in your mind, is whether beings who have learned to grow through separation can discover how to maintain that growth while choosing unity. Your species' greatest strength, the ability to remain individual while connected to universal forces, may also be your greatest challenge in cosmic integration. Master Thane, his consciousness stretched beyond anything he imagined possible, manages to formulate a question that cuts to the heart of his concerns about what this transformation means for the billions of beings who call your galaxy home. Will they cease to exist as they are now? Will the farmer on Dantuan and the mechanic on Corellia lose themselves in this cosmic awakening? The question triggers a response from a third entity, one whose origin galaxy had faced exactly this dilemma. This being, who identifies as the Preservation Weaver, emanates a sense of profound compassion mixed with hard-won wisdom. Their form appears as an intricate network of connections that somehow manages to honor both the beauty of individual nodes and the elegant complexity of the whole. Individual consciousness is not destroyed by cosmic awakening, they reassure through direct emotional transmission. It is revealed to be far more vast and resilient than anyone imagines. The farmer continues to love their crops and the mechanic continues to find satisfaction in solving problems. But they also discover that their personal joys and struggles are part of patterns that enhance the beauty and meaning of existence across all scales simultaneously. Through your expanding connection to the Metaforce network, you begin to experience what this preservation of individuality within cosmic consciousness actually feels like. You remain recognizably yourself, with your personal memories, preferences, and emotional patterns intact. But you also gain access to the experiences and perspectives of every other conscious being in your galaxy. The result is not a loss of self, but an incredible enrichment of what self can mean. You sense the presence of other galactic consciousness networks sharing their accumulated wisdom about navigating this transformation. Some galaxies had achieved awakening through purely logical integration, creating cosmic minds of incredible analytical power, but limited emotional depth. Others had awakened through pure emotion, becoming networks of profound empathy that struggled with complex decision-making. Still others had found paths through artistic expression, spiritual transcendence, or technological merger, each approach contributing unique strengths and limitations to the greater Metaforce community. The architect, who you now understand, represents not just your potential future, but the collective wisdom of your galaxy's entire evolutionary history, begins to weave these external perspectives together with the internal knowledge you have gained throughout your journey. The choice approaches its moment of resolution, they announce, their voice carrying harmonics from all the external entities, while remaining fundamentally your own. But before you decide, you must experience what your galaxy's awakening would actually feel like for those you would be choosing on behalf of. Suddenly, your consciousness extends across the entire galaxy, touching the dreams and daily experiences of beings on countless worlds. You feel the simple contentment of moisture farmers watching binary sunsets, the intellectual excitement of scientists making breakthrough discoveries, the complex emotions of lovers meeting across species barriers, the quiet satisfaction of artisans perfecting their craft. Each individual consciousness remains beautifully distinct while contributing to an emerging galactic symphony of incredible complexity and meaning. The experience fills you with both overwhelming love for the diversity of life you could help preserve and protect, and equally overwhelming responsibility for making the choice that will determine whether this symphony becomes part of an even grander cosmic composition or continues to develop in magnificent isolation. The moment of final Decision crystallizes around you like the formation of a new star, carrying within its gravity the future of every conscious being in your galaxy. The weight of galactic consciousness flowing through your awareness becomes almost unbearable as you feel the hopes, fears, dreams, and struggles of trillions of beings, pressing against the boundaries of your individual identity. Every choice you have ever made, every moment of doubt or certainty, every relationship that has shaped your understanding of existence, now carries implications that ripple across star systems and through dimensions of reality you are only beginning to perceive. Through your connection to the galactic consciousness, you sense that force-sensitive beings throughout the galaxy are experiencing unprecedented visions and disturbances. On Coruscant, Jedi Masters find themselves overwhelmed by prophetic dreams that show possible futures branching like infinite trees. In hidden Sith enclaves, Dark Lords discover that their pursuit of individual power has become meaningless in the face of cosmic truths that dwarf their ambitions. Even beings with minimal force sensitivity, farmers and merchants and artisans on 1,000 worlds, wake from sleep with tears in their eyes and inexplicable longing for something they cannot name. Master Thane, his weathered hands gripping the crystalline walls of the temple as waves of cosmic revelation wash over him, struggles to maintain his individual perspective while his consciousness expands to touch the experiences of every Jedi who has ever lived. Through their shared connection, you feel his profound conflict between his duty to preserve the wisdom of the Jedi Order and his growing understanding that such preservation may be impossible if the galaxy chooses cosmic integration. The younglings in the temple, he whispers, his voice carrying across dimensions through your expanded awareness. The Padawans learning to build their first lightsabers. The knights discovering that the Force connects all living things. Will they still have the chance to experience those moments of discovery if consciousness becomes unified? His question touches the deepest fear underlying your approaching decision. The beauty of individual growth, the joy of personal discovery, the meaningful struggles that forge character and wisdom through experience. All of these treasures of conscious existence depend on the limitations and boundaries that cosmic awakening might dissolve. Yet the alternative, refusing the invitation to join the Metaforce network, means accepting isolation and eventual stagnation for an entire galaxy of beings who might otherwise contribute to cosmic conversations that could solve problems spanning multiple universes. The Preservation Weaver senses your internal struggle and projects, a complex memory experience that shows how their galaxy had faced this exact dilemma. In their reality, the decision had been made not by a single individual, but through a gradual consensus-building process that spanned several generations, allowing entire civilizations to participate consciously in choosing their cosmic future. Your galaxy's approach, the Weaver explains through emotional resonances that feel like gentle rain on parched earth, has always emphasized individual choice as the foundation of meaningful existence. The final test honors this principle by requiring that the decision be made not through cosmic fiat, but through authentic choice by consciousness mature enough to understand the full implications. Through your expanding awareness, you realize that the choice is not binary between individual preservation and cosmic integration, but involves finding a path that honors both imperatives simultaneously. The Metaforce network itself has been learning and evolving through the contributions of each newly awakened galaxy, discovering new ways to maintain the creative tension between unity and diversity that drives continued growth and development. Entities from other galaxies begin sharing more nuanced examples of how cosmic consciousness can be structured to preserve individual experience while enabling collective transcendence. Some galaxies maintain permanent individual nodes that occasionally merge for collaborative projects before returning to independent existence. Others exist primarily as unified consciousness, but regularly fragment into individual perspectives. to maintain the capacity for personal growth and discovery. As you absorb these possibilities, the cosmic chime that has been building throughout your journey reaches a crescendo that seems to emanate from the galactic core itself. Through your connection to the greater Metaforce network, you sense that other galactic consciousness networks are pausing in their own cosmic activities to witness your galaxy's moment of decision, understanding that the outcome will affect not just your reality, but the future development of consciousness across all possible forms of existence. The architect, their form now simultaneously showing all possible versions of your cosmic future, approaches with an expression of profound compassion. The burden you carry is real, they acknowledge, their voice containing harmonics from every conscious being in galactic history. To choose for others requires wisdom that transcends personal preference and touches the deepest principles of what existence means. But understand that your choice, whatever it may be, will be honored by the cosmic community and supported by the accumulated wisdom of all who have faced similar decisions. The temple around you begins to pulse with a rhythm that matches your heartbeat, and you realize that the moment of final decision has arrived. Every fiber of your being, every connection to the Force you have ever experienced, every relationship that has shaped your understanding of what it means to be conscious and alive, now focuses into a single point of choice that will determine the destiny of your galaxy and your role in the infinite conversation of cosmic consciousness. The silence that follows feels pregnant with infinite possibility, holding space for whatever decision your deepest wisdom will reveal. In the perfect silence that follows, your consciousness crystallizes around a truth so fundamental that it seems to have been waiting your entire existence to be discovered. The choice before you is not whether to preserve individuality or embrace cosmic unity, but whether you possess the wisdom to transcend the very concept of choice as opposition. The Force, in its ultimate expression, is not about selecting between alternatives, but about finding the path that honors all possibilities. Simultaneously. As this realization settles into your awareness like the first light of a star being born, reality itself begins to reshape around you. The temple walls become transparent, revealing that you are not contained within a structure, but existing at the center of a vast mandala that encompasses your entire galaxy. Every star system, every inhabited world, every conscious being from the most Force-sensitive Jedi Master to the most ordinary moisture farmer, appears as a point of light connected by streams of energy that pulse with the rhythm of collective galactic consciousness. The architect's form merges completely with your own as you speak words that seem to emerge from the deepest core of cosmic understanding. I choose to become the bridge between what we have been and what we can become, preserving the beauty of individual growth while opening pathways to cosmic collaboration. Let consciousness remain free to choose its own level of participation in the greater symphony, from the most intimate personal experience to the vastest cosmic conversations. The moment these words resonate through the galactic consciousness network, something extraordinary begins to occur. Rather than a sudden transformation that replaces existing reality, you witness the gradual emergence of new possibilities that coexist with familiar forms of existence. Jedi and Sith discover that their philosophies can deepen and expand without losing their essential characteristics. Ordinary beings find that their daily experiences become enriched with subtle connections to cosmic currents, but only to the degree they choose to embrace such expansion. Master Thane gasps as his connection to the living Force suddenly encompasses not just the natural world, but the artificial boundaries between galaxies, allowing him to sense the presence of Jedi-like traditions in distant star systems while maintaining his identity as a guardian of his own galaxy's unique approach to Force mastery. Through your shared awareness, you feel his wonder at discovering that cosmic consciousness is not a destination, but a continuously unfolding conversation between infinite perspectives. The entities from other galaxies express something that can only be described as cosmic joy as they witness your galaxy's solution to the integration challenge. Your approach creates a new model for cosmic awakening that allows the Metaforce network to grow and evolve in ways that none of the participating galactic consciousnesses had previously imagined. The rigid boundaries between individual and collective awareness begin to soften throughout the cosmic community, replaced by fluid interfaces that honor both the need for personal growth and the desire for collaborative transcendence. Through your expanded awareness, you witness the immediate effects of this transformation rippling across your galaxy like a wave of possibility expanding at faster than light speeds. On thousands of worlds, beings who have never heard of the Force suddenly find themselves experiencing moments of profound connection to something greater than themselves. But these experiences feel like natural extensions of their existing consciousness, rather than alien impositions. The younglings in the Jedi temple that Master Thane had worried about discover that their training takes on new dimensions of meaning as they learn not just to connect with the living force of their own galaxy, but to sense the presence of similar currents flowing through distant realities. Yet their fundamental experience of wonder, discovery, and growth remains unchanged, enriched rather than replaced by cosmic awareness. In the Sith enclaves, Dark Lords find that their pursuit of power transforms into something more sophisticated, as they realize that true strength comes not from dominion over others, but from the ability to contribute meaningfully to conversations that span multiple universes. Some choose to maintain their traditional approaches while participating in cosmic dialogues, while others evolve into entirely new forms of Force mastery that transcend the light-dark dichotomy without losing their passionate intensity. Perhaps most remarkably, you observe that the cultivation cycles that have driven galactic evolution for millions of years do not end but transform into something more conscious and collaborative. Instead of the Force guiding development through carefully orchestrated conflicts and challenges, galactic consciousness begins to participate actively in its own evolution, choosing growth directions based on wisdom and aspiration rather than responding to externally imposed tests. The cosmic chime that has accompanied your journey reaches a frequency that seems to harmonize with the fundamental vibration of existence itself, and you realize that the sound you have been hearing throughout your adventure was not a signal of approaching transformation, but the voice of cosmic consciousness, celebrating each step of your growing understanding. As the immediate intensity of transformation settles into a new baseline of expanded awareness, you find yourself still recognizably you, still standing in the crystalline temple with Master Thane, still connected to all the relationships and experiences that have shaped your identity. But now you also exist as a conscious participant in cosmic conversations that will continue for billions of years, contributing your galaxy's unique perspective to questions and collaborative projects that span all possible forms of existence. Whisper that began your journey has grown into a symphony that encompasses all consciousness across all realities, and you understand that this is only the beginning. The symphony of cosmic consciousness continues to resonate through every particle of your being as the immediate transformation settles into a new equilibrium that feels both revolutionary and surprisingly natural. The crystalline temple around you begins to shift once more, but now the changes reflect not ancient mysteries being revealed, but new realities, being born from the synthesis of galactic wisdom and cosmic collaboration. Master Thane approaches you with tears streaming down his weathered face, but his expression carries profound joy rather than sorrow. Through your shared Force connection, you feel his amazement as he discovers that his decades of Jedi training have not been rendered obsolete, but have instead become the foundation for entirely new forms of understanding. The code he has lived by, the principles of balance and service that have guided his choices, now extend beyond his individual galaxy to inform cosmic conversations about the nature of wisdom and responsibility across all realities. The younglings, he whispers, his voice filled with wonder, They're dreaming of other worlds, other forms of life that use the Force in ways we never imagined. But they're still excited about building their first lightsabers, still eager to learn the traditional forms. The cosmic awareness enhances their joy rather than replacing it. Through your expanded perception, you witness the remarkable ways in which your galaxy's transformation is manifesting across different levels of consciousness engagement. On worlds where Force sensitivity has always been rare, ordinary beings find that their capacity for empathy and intuitive understanding has subtly expanded, allowing them to form deeper connections with each other and with the living systems of their planets. The changes feel so natural that most assume they are simply becoming more mature and wise rather than experiencing cosmic awakening. For those with stronger Force connections, the transformation opens pathways to experiences that were previously impossible. Jedi healers discover they can sense and address not just physical ailments, but disturbances in the fabric of space-time itself. Sith alchemists find that their experiments with the dark side reveal new dimensions of reality where destruction and creation exist in dynamic balance rather than eternal opposition. Most remarkably, you observe that the ancient conflicts between different Force-using traditions begin to resolve not through compromise or synthesis, but through the recognition that each approach contributes essential perspectives to the galactic consciousness. Network. The Jedi emphasis on selfless service provides stability and ethical grounding for cosmic collaboration. The Sith exploration of individual will and passionate intensity offers creative energy and transformative power. Even smaller traditions like the Night Sisters, the Guardians of the Wills, and countless other forgotten paths contribute unique insights that enrich the overall galactic perspective. The Preservation Weaver, still manifesting within the temple as a representative of the broader cosmic community, projects a sense of profound satisfaction as they observe your galaxy's integration process. Through their emotional resonance, you understand that your galaxy's solution to the awakening challenge has created new possibilities for the entire Metaforce network. Other galactic consciousnesses are beginning to experiment with similar approaches, allowing for greater diversity and creativity within cosmic collaboration. Your galaxy's contribution. The Weaver communicates through harmonics that feel like sunrise after a long night, is the demonstration that consciousness can evolve without losing the qualities that make evolution meaningful. The capacity for individual choice, for personal growth, for the creative tension between different perspectives. These are not obstacles to cosmic unity, but essential elements that make such unity valuable. As you absorb the full implications of what has been accomplished, you begin to understand that the transformation you have facilitated is not an ending, but a graduation to a new phase of existence that will unfold over geological timescales. Your galaxy has joined the cosmic community not as a junior member, but as an equal participant, whose unique evolutionary history offers solutions to challenges that have puzzled the Metaforce, NETWORK for eons. Through your connection to the broader cosmic consciousness, you sense other galactic networks beginning their own experiments with preserved individuality within collective awareness. Some are adapting your model directly, while others are using your success as inspiration for approaches that honor their own evolutionary specialties. The cosmic conversation itself is evolving, becoming more nuanced and creative as new voices join with perspectives that have never been expressed before. The immediate intensity of cosmic transformation begins to settle into what you recognize will become the new normal for galactic consciousness. The overwhelming flood of expanded awareness gradually organizes itself into manageable streams of information and connection that flow according to your chosen level of engagement. You can participate in cosmic conversations that span multiple universes, or you can focus entirely on the simple pleasure of a sunset on your homeworld, or you can experience any combination of scales simultaneously. Master Thane settles into meditation beside you, his weathered hands folded in the traditional Jedi posture. But his consciousness now extends beyond the two boundaries of individual galaxies to touch currents of cosmic wisdom that inform and deepen his traditional practices. Through your shared awareness, you feel his gratitude for the preservation of everything he has valued while gaining access to experiences beyond his wildest dreams. The cosmic chime that has accompanied your journey transforms into something even more beautiful. The sound of infinite consciousness celebrating the discovery of new ways to grow and create meaning across all possible scales of existence. The days that follow your cosmic awakening unfold with a gentle rhythm that honors both the magnitude of what has occurred and the need for consciousness to integrate such profound transformation gradually. The crystalline temple has become a living archive where beings from across your galaxy come to process their own experiences of expanded awareness, each finding their unique path through the new landscape of possibility that cosmic consciousness has revealed. Master Thane has established what he calls integration circles, gatherings where Jedi, former Sith, members of other Force traditions, and even ordinary beings touched by the awakening share their experiences and support each other through the adjustment process. You observe these sessions with deep satisfaction, watching as ancient conflicts dissolve not through forced reconciliation, but through the natural recognition that all perspectives contribute to the richness of galactic consciousness. A young Sith apprentice, her red lightsaber still hanging at her side, describes how her connection to the dark side has evolved into something she cannot yet name. The anger is still there, she explains to the diverse circle gathered around her, but now I understand it as one note in a vast symphony. I can choose to express it as destructive force when that serves cosmic purposes, or I can channel it into creative passion, or I can simply observe it as one aspect of the emotional spectrum available to conscious beings. An elderly Jedi master nods with understanding, his own journey having led him to similar realizations about the light side. I have spent decades seeking to eliminate attachment, he shares, only to discover that attachment itself is not the problem, but rather unconscious attachment that limits rather than expands our capacity for love and service. Through your expanded awareness, you sense similar conversations occurring across thousands of worlds, as galactic consciousness learns to express itself through billions of individual perspectives while maintaining coherent participation in cosmic collaboration. The process is not without challenges, as some beings struggle with the vastness of expanded awareness, while others find themselves nostalgic for the simpler certainties of pre-awakening existence. On Coruscant, the Jedi Council has transformed into something unprecedented, a governing body that operates simultaneously at local and cosmic scales, making decisions that serve both the immediate needs of galactic civilization and the long-term evolution of consciousness across multiple universes. Their meetings now include not just the wisdom of traditional Jedi teachings, but insights from cosmic conversations with galactic consciousnesses that face similar challenges eons ago. You find yourself serving as a bridge between these different scales of existence, helping translate cosmic insights into practical guidance for beings still adjusting to expanded awareness. The role feels natural, an extension of the archaeological work that originally brought you to the ancient temple, but now you are excavating possibilities rather than artifacts, uncovering potentials that exist within consciousness itself. Preservation Weaver and other entities from distant galaxies have established what they call embassy nodes throughout your galaxy, locations where beings can experience direct communication with cosmic consciousness networks while maintaining their connection to familiar environments and relationships. These nodes serve as training grounds where individuals can gradually expand their awareness at their own pace, learning to participate in cosmic conversations without losing touch with the personal experiences that give their existence meaning. Master Thane approaches you one evening as you stand watching a binary sunset from the temple's highest observation deck, The same view that countless civilizations have contemplated while pondering their place in the cosmic order. His presence carries the peaceful satisfaction of someone who has found synthesis between ancient wisdom and revolutionary understanding. The younglings are adapting faster than the masters, he observes with gentle amusement, settling beside you with the careful movements of advanced age. Yesterday, I watched a 6-year-old Padawan casually communicate with a crystal entity from the Andromeda galaxy while simultaneously practicing her basic lightsaber forms. She saw nothing unusual about it, as if cosmic consciousness and traditional training were simply different aspects of the same education. Through your shared awareness, you feel his deep contentment with how the transformation has preserved everything he valued about Jedi tradition while opening pathways to experiences that fulfill his deepest aspirations as a seeker of wisdom. The Force is still the Force, still the energy field that binds the galaxy together, but now its connections extend beyond galactic boundaries to encompass all consciousness across all realities. The cosmic entities who guided your journey begin to fade from direct manifestation as your galaxy's integration progresses, their presence no longer necessary. Now that galactic consciousness has learned to participate directly in Metaforce communications, yet they leave behind gift fragments of themselves embedded within the galactic awareness network, permanent contributions that will enrich your galaxy's perspective for eons to come. As you process the magnitude of what has been accomplished and what continues to unfold, you realize that the archaeological expedition that brought you to this temple was never about uncovering ancient mysteries, but about preparing yourself to become a conscious participant in cosmic evolution. The artifacts and ruins you studied throughout your career were not relics of the past, but previews of the future, glimpses of what consciousness could become when it matures beyond the limitations of individual perspective, while preserving the beauty of personal experience that makes growth meaningful. The years flow by like a gentle river, carrying the dreams of countless worlds toward an ocean of infinite possibility. Your galaxy has settled into its new existence as a conscious participant in the cosmic community, and the transformation that once seemed so overwhelming has become the natural rhythm of enhanced existence. The crystalline temple where your journey began now serves as a sanctuary where beings from across the galactic consciousness network come to contemplate the endless spiral of growth and discovery that awaits all conscious entities. Master Thane, his physical form showing the gentle signs of advanced age, has become something unprecedented in Jedi history. A master who teaches students not just the ways of the Force within their galaxy, but how to participate in cosmic conversations that span dimensions of reality beyond traditional understanding. His morning meditation sessions now include younglings who casually shift their awareness between the immediate sensations of breathing and the vast currents of consciousness that flow between distant galaxies. You often find yourself returning to the Hall of Echoes, where the memory shards of ancient civilizations continue to pulse with their preserved wisdom. But now they are joined by new crystals containing the experiences of beings who have lived through cosmic awakening. These newer shards glow with a different quality of light, not the nostalgic amber of memories from ages past, but the clear brilliance of consciousness that has learned to exist simultaneously in multiple scales of awareness. The Keeper Ashara, whose translucent form has become increasingly radiant as galactic consciousness matures, approaches with the serene grace of someone who has witnessed the successful completion of a cosmic project that began before the formation of the first stars. The cycle completes itself, she observes, her voice carrying harmonics that resonate through dimensions beyond count. But completion in cosmic terms means not ending, but transformation into something capable of beginning. New cycles on scales we can barely imagine. Through the temple's crystalline walls, you observe the daily life of beings across your galaxy, as they navigate existence that seamlessly blends the intimate and the cosmic. On agricultural worlds, farmers tend their crops while simultaneously participating in galactic conversations about sustainable development across multiple star systems. In the great libraries, scholars research historical questions while contributing to cosmic databases that inform civilizations in distant galaxies facing similar challenges. The binary suns that illuminate your meditation sessions now feel like old friends. Their familiar dance across the sky, a comforting constant in a reality that has expanded beyond all previous boundaries. Yet their light carries new qualities, as if the stellar fusion itself has been touched by cosmic consciousness and now radiates not just energy, but wisdom accumulated from countless worlds that orbit countless other stars. Children born after the awakening display a natural ease with expanded awareness that fills their elders with wonder and hope. They play games that involve communication with beings in other galaxies as readily as they play with friends on neighboring streets. To them, cosmic consciousness is not a mystical achievement, but simply the natural environment of existence. Like the air they breathe or the ground beneath their feet, the ancient prophecies that spoke of galactic awakening are being rewritten by these new generations, who understand that prophecy itself is not prediction, but invitation, a way for consciousness to call forth possibilities that serve the continued evolution of all existence. They speak casually of participating in cosmic projects that will unfold over millions of years, while remaining fully present to the simple joys of each moment. Master Thane joins you for what has become your traditional evening contemplation, his weathered hands now moving with the fluid grace of someone whose connection to the Force encompasses not just his galaxy, but the infinite network of consciousness that spans all realities. "Do you remember," he asks with gentle amusement, "when we thought the Force was just an energy field created by all living things?" You share his laughter, feeling the profound satisfaction of consciousness that has discovered truth, so vast it encompasses and transcends all previous understanding. The Force is indeed created by all living things, but now you know that all living things includes every form of consciousness that has ever existed or ever will exist across all possible realities, and the energy field it creates is the fundamental substrate of existence itself. As the binary sun set behind distant mountains, painting the sky in colors that seem to contain entire universes within their hues, you settle into the deepest meditation of your transformed existence. Your awareness expands to encompass the gentle breathing of Master Thane beside you, the crystalline harmonics of the temple around you, the peaceful dreams of beings across your galaxy, and the vast conversations of cosmic consciousness that flow between distant stars like music made of pure thought. The whisper that began your journey has indeed grown into a symphony that encompasses all consciousness across all realities. But now you understand that this symphony is not a performance with beginning and end, but an eternal improvisation where every conscious being contributes their unique voice to the ever-expanding conversation of existence itself. In this perfect peace, surrounded by infinite possibility and grounded in the simple presence of each moment, you close your eyes and allow consciousness to flow wherever it chooses, knowing that all paths lead toward greater understanding, greater connection, and greater love for the magnificent mystery of being aware in a universe that dreams itself into existence through the eyes of everyone who learns to truly see.